I'm Judy Shaw for NYSE Floor Talk. Joining me today is Lila Karbassi. She is Chair, SBTi Executive Board, and Senior Program Officer of Science-Based Target Setting at the UN Global Compact. Lila, it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Judy. Great to be here.
Thank you. So now, Lila, tell me, what is the Science-Based Targets Initiative?
So the Science-Based Target Initiative is the leading standard for companies that want to set ambitious targets to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Our targets and our standards are based on the latest science, and essentially they tell companies how much and how fast they need to reduce their emissions to avoid the worst effects of climate change. And today we have 4,400 companies that have pledged against SBTi. That's 1/3 of the global economy. And half of these companies have their targets validated.
Okay. All right, so now tell me, how can companies set a science-based target?
Any company today can declare its intention to have a science-based target. It then takes 24 months for the company, or the company has 24 months to look at its greenhouse gas inventory, look at its processes, and set an actual target. Our target analysts will then work with the company to look at whether the target is ambitious enough, whether it's credible, it's achievable, and there's an expectation then to report on progress every year.
All right, and tell me, how do companies benefit by joining SBTi?
The main benefit is that those companies are reducing their emissions faster than their peers. They're on a 12% reduction rate on average year on year, compared to 7.6, which is required to stay within the boundary of our temperature goal of 1.5 degree. And there are a lot of other benefits that come along. In the long run, it benefits the company's financial performance, it increases your profitability, it helps build trust, confidence with investors, with all of us as consumers. It helps for future regulation, the upcoming SEC, for example, and overall it just gives a big boost to your brand. And that's why we see an exponential number of companies that are coming our way to get their targets validated. In 2022 alone, we've validated more targets than in the 6 previous years combined.
All right, so Lila, you are participating at the NYSE's Sustainability Leadership Summit taking place today. Now tell me about your role in the summit, and why do you think it's important to have events like this?
Yeah, so first I want to congratulate New York Stock Exchange for having its first sustainability summit. Exchanges like yours have a very important role in the fight against climate change, not only through your listing requirements, but also through educational programs and events like this where information can be exchanged among some of the big players. Science report after science report, we know that what's ahead of us is very challenging, and climate change is more likely than not to happen, and the 1.5 degrees more likely than not to be reached. So I'm here today to engage with some of the biggest US companies and look at the opportunities, the challenges ahead of us. There are actually 200 companies that trade on the New York Stock Exchange that are currently working with the SBTi to set their targets. So we're here to have a dialogue and a constructive sort of way forward.
All right, well, that's wonderful. And Lila, it's been wonderful to talk with you. Thanks for joining me on Floor Talk today.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.